Today on Real Talks, we're going to talk about the wonderful court system. So let's talk about the court system. Like, how frustrating was that for you, and what kind of information did you get or not get about your case?
I mean, the caseworkers were probably the most frustrating on our part because we had our county caseworker was just she wasn't good at her job, and I don't think it was very obvious. And so she was like lying to us and like trying to stir the pot with the biological parents,
which we didn't know at the time that they were lies. So that's the other hard thing.
So you're beginning feelings about the bio parents
for several months.
From her.
Was scary.
Yeah.
We were scared of them,
Wow.
and then once we actually met them and interacted with them, we were like, we like these people.
And
these
then
people
she ended up getting removed from the case.
Wow.
Which was the best thing.
For obvious reasons. And then you find out from the new worker that a lot of the stuff that we were told wasn't even true. And then you're kind of like, wait, going back and thinking about all of the feelings and thoughts that you had from based off of lies. Yeah. But we had that's our only way to get any information.
And so from when you got the new worker, did you get a lot of updates as a court, or still you don't get to know a lot?
Not really. I mean, you're never as informed as you'd like to be. You know, it's always, there's always a like, you'd like to know more.
They would go to court, we're excited about it, and then they would say like, nothing really happened. And you're like, what do you mean?
What?
Like, we've been waiting 2 months for this one day, and then afterwards you just say nothing really happened.
Right.
No updates.
I think that's so important for foster parents to know, because I remember thinking like, oh, this date we're gonna have court.
Like
you're gonna move somewhere or get something, and you get nothing.
And the hard part for us
updates.
is we were doing a lot of like, ours was through COVID, and so it was like Zoom meetings, and they got canceled, and this person couldn't come, and courts were shut down for a while, and so I'm not sure what it looks like under a normal period of time, but we had that extra layer of everything's being canceled or courts are closed for 6 months, and so it just kind of prolonged everything on our end.
Who were your key people that you would advise foster parents to like connect or build a relationship with? Like, was the GAL good for you? The county worker?
So for us, I kept being told like reach out to the GAL, or like if they have a CASA, like reach out to them. And in our case, that was not
helpful.
Our people were not super active. And then I remember finally like calling her, and one of them ended up getting off of our case also because I think she was done. But it was like half-hearted. She didn't care and wasn't invested. So that for us wasn't a very great resource. Our focus caseworkers, I was kind of surprised by being at a private agency that they don't know anything more than I know most of the time about the case, because I would talk directly to our county caseworker, and that's where our focus caseworker would get their information. So that took me a little bit to realize, like, we always thought that they would know more. Yeah, like our family specialist from our agency doesn't know much more than we know, because they're getting their information from the same source that we are.
So you can build a relationship with them.
I would say, with if you're at a private agency, then still try to build a relationship with your county caseworker.
You might not have a good county worker.
Yes, and we had 3 or 4, I think 4 in a year and 4 months. We had 4 different county caseworkers.
Yeah, I mean, there's no consistency to it. And I think that's the hard part and especially for somebody that's like runs a business or is involved in it's like, this is a terrible,
he was frustrated
like,
all
who's in charge here? Multiple times. Who's running this show? Like,
he just kept thinking like, I need to get in there. And I'm like, and like redo the whole justice system. But that's like, he wanted to.
And it's hard too, because you put yourself in their shoes, and it's like, they're underpaid, they're overworked, they're in, like our situation was like one of the better situations when it comes to foster kids. And so I think in some ways they were kind of like, oh, they got it. Like, they're good. Right. I don't need to give them attention.
They would cancel our stuff all the time, or stop by for a second, or like prop their feet up, and I would serve them coffee. It was definitely, we were like a low priority, which is good, and that means we're doing our job. That they felt that our kids were safe enough that they didn't have to worry, but they also let you know, listen, You're one of 40 families I have, and I'm strapped.
Wow.
Like they would just tell that to you, and you're like, okay, I'll try not to bother you, I guess. Like,
so what would be your advice about the court system to foster?
Have no expectations.
Okay.
I think the removal of expectations is key.
Yeah.
It's
unpredictable.
Yeah.
At one point, it was like within a week, like they were supposed to reunify. We were told that, and then something changed in 5 days, and then she forgot to tell us, but then a week or two later was like, oh, I didn't tell you? No, they're not reunifying anymore. That all changed. And we were like, but we were told, so we started preparing for that whenever that day would be, and them leaving, and then she just forgot to mention that something had changed.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, I probably shouldn't have told you that. And I'm like, well, yeah, you probably shouldn't have, and you probably should have remembered to call me and say, like,
Did you had already told the kids or no?
No.
So would that be advice?
Yes,
Don't
never tell the kids.
Never tell your children or really anybody, like, I mean, we would tell our...
change their mind, right?
Yeah, it changes, so just, I would say, until it's, like, they're in the car about to drive home.
Right.
Like, nothing
maybe not even then.
There's no sure thing.
Right. Okay.
And that's, like, you think about families like getting in this specifically even for adoption, and it's like when their hearts get broken because they were told like, oh, it's moving this way, I can't imagine like how that would feel. So just even when you're told stuff, like you just kind of have to take it all with a grain of salt.